Good morning. My name is Ravi Krishnan, and I'm very proud to be part of the IWN Core Council. Uh, I'm into hotels. I've been with the hospitality sector for a fair number of years, and currently serving as the Vice President Operations of the GreenPark Hotels. And without doubt, it would be a privilege for me to be sharing insights from the hospitality sector and the women force working in the sector and helping Ivan Core Council with whatever programs which could be beneficial to both the Ivan Core Council as well as the women force working in the hospitality sector. Yes, the pandemic has created mayhem, and as far as the hotels are concerned, it's almost an existential crisis that we are facing. So, what kind of new skills would be required for the workforce in general and the women workforce in hotels to mitigate this? Well, it's not as much about skill sets as much as a whole lot of training that will have to be imparted by hotel companies and hotel management to their workforce right across the board because things are definitely going to change. I think hygiene and sanitation, which was earlier perhaps not as important, although it was crucial to every hotel, would have a different manifestation altogether and understanding because now the consumer is going to be a lot more touchy. He's most certainly going to be a lot more careful and very demanding when it comes to social distancing and the kind of food safety measures, etc. So, efforts from hotel companies and hotel management is most certainly going to be towards this, where we will have to reskill our complete manpower in ensuring all our customers who are going to be using us either in the hotels in terms of the restaurants or in the rooms or the public areas, etc., are aware and are conscious of the norms which have to be followed. So effectively, that is where it is. So new skills would be more in terms of social skills rather than any hardcore kind of skills. Besides, of course, we also believe that uh, there are going to be fewer physical touch points compared to earlier. So, to mitigate that, there would be a lot more, perhaps, emphasis on technology in a lot of spaces. And I'm quite certain that all our people will then have to be reskilled and retrained in, being updated on the latest technological trends and what would be the needs of the customer. Yes, you're absolutely correct. I think the hospitality industry and sector, which I'm including airlines, has possibly been the most affected among the various sectors in the country. As per the latest Niti Aayog report, the hospitality sector, including airlines, is impacted by almost 70%. And this is an industry which gives about which gives about 3% to the GDP compared to agriculture, which does about 15%. So it's not a small amount. Now, where do we go from here? Yes, I think everybody is putting their thinking caps on, but the human resilience being what it is, and I think the industry is pretty charged up. I guess human resilience being what it is, uh, what we believe is for the economy to do well, you're going to have company uh, executives traveling, which means the airline seats are going to be filling. Where they travel to, they would have to stay somewhere, so hotel beds are going to be occupied. But yes, all this is definitely going to happen only early third quarter. I don't think the green shoots are going to come about. We see it happening only sometime in August or maybe late July, not before that. So then, what's going to happen to the next two quarters? Especially people are concerned, the people who work in hospitality is concerned, and especially when it comes to hotels, you're talking of almost about 3.5 lakh of people, including the contract labor. Uh, well, there are issues. There are people who are worried. There are layoffs that people are scared about. But I've been speaking to a few HR heads of various hotel organizations, and they seem to be pretty clear on the fact that there is no hatchets that are going to be used, and they're going to be retaining a lot of people. And but of course, there are going to be pay cuts. That is inevitable. But more importantly, I think everybody is looking towards uh, you know how they're going to mitigate this, and everybody seems to be very clear that they want to retain people who have been working with them and who have been loyal to the organizations and have been with them over all these years, even if it's for a couple of years or more. You're talking of great chefs, you're talking of cooks, you're talking of housekeeping maids, and the list goes on. So, but yes, what is most certainly going to happen is there is going to be a whole lot of process changes that are going to take place. There are going to be a whole lot of, like I said earlier, uh, technology is most certainly going to be brought in because there are going to be lesser social, physical touch points when it comes to the customers compared to the earlier occasions. So, new skills would have to be developed. And I can see that a lot of organizations have already started online training sessions for a lot of their managers and above, and which is a great thing because I think this also gives an opportunity for organizations to relook at processes, relook at standard operating procedures, relook at the pyramids, and rework strategies in the coming years. Because as you're aware, hotels and airlines are such that once you start running, you're running. I mean, you don't have time for anything else, but you're concentrating on operations and not as much on strategies except for the top management. But here is an opportunity where a lot of right down to the level of executives and assistant managers are now going to look at are going to be auditing their processes and time and motion studies, etc. So I guess in a way it is dire straits. It is an existential crisis. But like I said earlier, I think the human resilience is such that the industry is such that they're pretty sure that they'll be able to overcome these trying times. But work is happening. Nobody is sitting at home and just putting up their feet and waiting for the sky to fall. No, we believe the sky has already fallen. But how are we going to survive in the coming days? Is what. So there are going to be a few job. I wouldn't say cuts as much as I guess strategizing in terms of numbers, but a lot of retraining is going to happen. There would be pay cuts without doubt, but yeah, that is the inevitable that we expect. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Work from home is not an option for the service sector, especially hotels and restaurants, etc. So then what happens? I mean, how do we engage and how do we keep our women workforce and the workforce in general in good humor? Well, one is I think a lot of hotels have opened hotlines, the HR department, so that any kind of uh, any anguish that the hotel employees need to share uh, is heard out, and the companies are helping out in whatever possible ways can be done. But more importantly, I think what's also happening is hotels are using this time to get people to do sessions online, to do some training sessions online. I see that a lot of hotel training managers are quite busy these days and working on reskilling some people, working on uh, rejuvenating, if you would ask me, some of their process skills, and that's how people are being kept busy. The other, of course, is a lot of people are being asked to read, to be aware, to self-educate, since look at it in a very positive manner and look at what can be done to educate oneself, uh, and industry specific, of course, so that when they come on board again, when the hotels and the business starts up and running, that they are better skilled and more aware, and possibly in terms of being contemporary, surely up there. It's interesting that you spoke about the impact in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and how would they react to this kind of a pandemic and the economic downturn compared to hotels in larger cities. But strangely, the impact in tier 2, tier 3 cities started much later than what happened in the larger cities, because the tier 2, tier 3 city hotels and restaurants, etc., are primarily dependent hugely on uh, local travel. You're talking of people who are executives and mid managers and mid level managers, or entrepreneurs, or dealers and people like that, who travel into smaller towns, and so that continued much longer. Whereas the larger cities, hotels, were the ones which are largely impacted, because international travel is what keeps the larger cities on. I mean, the US and the Europe, these are the biggest markets that hotels in India cater to. And the industry, for that matter, the IT industry, if you ask me, is one of the biggest players, but it's more visible in the larger cities like Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, to name a Pune, to name a few. Whereas the tier 2, tier 3 cities, the hotels were primarily free individual travelers, businessmen, etc. And our assumption is they would possibly bounce back even faster than the bigger hotels in the larger cities. That we are very, very clear, because as per the latest government Ministry of Home Affairs circulation, uh, they are post April 30th, April 20th for that matter. Uh, APMCs are going to be open. The agriculture sector is going to be open for farm labor. So there is going to be a travel of a lot of people associated with the agriculture industry and associate industries, that is, and it's most of them are to tier 2, tier 3 cities. So my guess is, I think hotels, the smaller hotels in these cities, are definitely going to bounce back much faster than the city hotels. You're very correct. Employment. A lot of the hotel employees are those who possibly earn sub 15,000 rupees, and they are the ones who are most severely impacted by this whole pandemic, panning out with hotels and restaurants closed, and that's a large, large base. So, what would they do? As luck would have it, uh, e-commerce companies have come to the fore, because there's huge demands on e-commerce companies. You've got your Amazon, you've got your Big Basket, you've got DMart, which is now doing online deliveries to homes with in the current scenarios. They are having a huge shortage of manpower. One is, of course, because migration, a lot of people were scared and decided to move out. So this has opened up an opportunity for uh, this rung of employees of hotels and restaurants, where you've had, I think, some of these e-commerce companies approaching the National Restaurant Association of India to seek the help of the association to see if they could lease their staff to these e-commerce companies for a period of time. And these are basically tasks which would perfectly fit in with the kind of job role that these people were anyway doing in hotels and restaurants. Here you're talking of stacking, you're talking of tagging, you're talking of packaging. And yes, in a lot many cases, even if they have driving licenses, to do door deliveries. And of course, since uh, they are they're smart, uh, they speak multiple languages. It seems like a win-win for both the industry. And more importantly, they are getting compensated amply. They're not going to lose them. If they were getting paid 15,000 over here, I presume they would get paid a little more. And this is till such time that the hotels and restaurants again bounce back, and the labor who have gone out, migrant labor, to return back, and these people get back to their work. So I think this is the silver lining that's opened up. Yeah, your question relating to how is it that there aren't very many women in leadership roles in hotels? Uh, I don't think it's got anything to do with opportunities not being there. I think it's more a case of, it's a very demanding industry for the number of hours that you put in and the kind of long work hours, and uh, possibly having to sometimes quite physical. So that's possibly the reason why you don't find too many. But honestly, if you ask me, I think this industry, ever since its inception, has possibly been has been an employer of the maximum number of lady workforce, and there are n number of hotel companies which have women working right on top. And I'm not talking about only areas of sales and marketing and housekeeping, like you said. In fact, we have a fair number of them who are general managers of hotels. There are women who are actually regional heads of hotel clusters today in India who are women. Uh, ITC, for that matter, has their corporate chef is a lady who's been with them for 30 years. So I think it's unfair to believe that opportunities don't exist. It's more a case of, I think, diversity and inclusiveness in hotels have been pre-existing even before people spoke about it, because the industry is such that the soft touch always comes from the women force. There are areas where you don't find too many women, which is basically the back of the house areas, especially engineering, but primarily because it's similar to working in factories or plants. I mean, it's a hardcore kind of job. So that is possibly one area where you don't find too many. But otherwise, kitchens, you have a lot of women. Front of the house, you have a lot of women. Food and beverage service, you have a lot of women. So I think the women force, fair number. And the option is open to them. If they have the staying power, they reach up to the top. I don't think there are any kind of glass ceiling. Honestly, if you ask me, there are a fair number of them who are already in leadership roles. I think this was a great interaction, and thank you for this opportunity for uh, putting up pertinent questions. And like I said, it is indeed an existential crisis for the hotel industry, but I don't think we are looking at a black hole. We're all pretty upbeat about the fact that things are going to turn around, and we are honestly of the opinion that the first people who are going to be positively impacted when the economy turns around is going to be the airline and hospitality sector. It's going to take, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's definitely going to take another quarter or two. But yes, when it does, we are absolutely sure that it's going to be a different world. But the industry is going to survive, and it'll bounce back and reach its days of glory.